After that we are having two types of triglyceride. Two types of triglyceride. What are the two types? Number one is saturated, another is unsaturated. What is saturated? In saturated we will be having one bond only between the carbon and hydrogen. Yes, between the carbon and hydrogen only one bond will be there. In this, one or more bonds. We can say that no double bond will be here. In the saturated and unsaturated we will be having one or more double bond. This will be the solid at the room temperature. This will be the solid at room temperature, and if we talk about this will be the liquid at room temperature. After that, this saturated, if we talk about, this is obtained from animals and coconut, right? And this is obtained from the plants. This is obtained from the plants, and this is obtained from the animals and coconut. So this was a saturated and unsaturated. Here will be the single bond and here will be the double bond, right? After that, if I talk about, this were the types of triglyceride. After that we are having another group, that is phospholipid, right? What is basically phospholipid? Obviously it's a lipid, types of lipid, or you can say group of how it is made. Two molecules of the fatty acid, one molecule of the glycerol, one molecule of the choline group, and the one molecule of the phosphate. So this will make the phospholipid. As phospholipid we are having two ends, right? Two ends. Number one is head, another is tail. Head is consist of glycerol, choline group and phosphate group, and tail is consist of two fatty acids, like fatty acids only. It is consists of fatty acid, and this is consist of glycerol, choline and phosphate is consist of fatty acid, right? So the head is hydrophilic, and the tail is hydrophobic. What is hydrophilic and hydrophobic? Hydrophilic is that will be dissolved in the water, that is dissolved in water, which is soluble, we can say soluble, and this is insoluble, right? Or undissolved. So hydrophobic is insoluble and hydrophilic is dissolved in water. Now how two ends? This is a head, right? And this is a tail. Head, here will be the glycerol and choline group and phosphate, and this will be consist of fatty acid. This is the tails, right? So this will be the hydrophilic and this will be the hydrophobic. So this was a phospholipid. After that we are having another group of lipid, that is waxes, right? So the waxes are how it is composed: fatty acid plus monoalcohol. What is what is monoalcohol? Monoalcohol, which means one alcohol, right? One alcohol. As you can see, this will be the highly hydrophobic. This will be the hydrophobic that do not dissolve in water. After that, we are having two types of the waxes. Number one is natural waxes. What is natural waxes? Waxes, if you see the example, like we are having bee wax that is extract from that is present in the honey, right? That is a bee wax. This is an example of the natural wax. And if we talk about the cutin that is present on the surface of leaf, so that is also a wax. That is a type example of natural wax. Another is that is synthetic waxes. Synthetic waxes. What are synthetic waxes? If you check the example, candle, you can see candle is extracted from paraffin wax, right? This is a wax from which candle is made. So this is an example of synthetic wax. Basically, synthetic wax is we can say extracted from the petroleum. This is extracted from the petroleum. After that, another group of the lipid is terpenoid. What is terpenoid? Terpenoid is made up of the units called isoparanoid. This is made up of small units called isoparanoid, that is C5 and H8. This is a isoparanoid. 5-8 ratio is the ratio of isoparanoid. Basically, terpenoids are the fragrances. These are the fragrances, right? So these are made up of small units called isoterpenoid. If you take an example like rubber, menthol, these are having fragrances, right? So these are example of the terpenoid. Now we are having types of terpenoid. Types, right? Number one is that is terpene. This contain few units of isoparanoid. If we mix add 1 terpene, 2 terpene and 3 terpene, that will make triterpene. If we add 2 terpene, that will make diterpene, right? Now we are having components of vitamin, right? Components of vitamin, that will be the A1 and A2. Basically, these components are used to synthesize. First of all, the example of terpene is rubber and latex, right? So the A1 and A2 components are used to synthesize the rubber and latex. This is used to synthesize the rubber and the latex. After that, another type of terpenoid, that is steroids. What is steroids? Basically, steroids is made up of the 17 carbon. It is made up of 17 carbons having 4 rings. 4 rings have 17 carbons. These 4 rings will make the nucleus of steroid, which means it will make the steroid. So 17 carbons are there on the 4 rings. 3 rings will be the hexagonal and 1 ring will be the pentagonal. Only total 4 rings will be there. That will make the nucleus of a steroid, which will make the steroid. Only 17 carbons are there on the 4 rings. Now 17th number carbon is having radical. As we know, radical varies, right? It varies. So when the radical will change, the whole steroid will get changed. the best example of this is cholesterol, right? So the on the 17th number carbon radical is present, so that varies. So the change of the radical will change whole the steroid, right? After that, another type of the terpenoid, that with carotenoids. Carotenoids. What are carotenoids? Basically, these are the components of pigments. These are the components of pigments. They are having many units of the isoparanoid. Many units of the isoparanoid. After that, it contains two rings of the isoparanoid, maximum two rings of the isoparanoid, one on the start and one on the terminal side, right? Like this. It is a one ring and this one ring. So this will be called the carotenoid. One ring here of the isoparanoid, right? Maximum two rings we can see, we can take. After that, these are the, as I told, these are the pigments. So it produce red, yellow, green and brown color, right? In the plants, we are talking about the plants. So these are contained, this produce these colors, pigments. So these produce this color. Now a red, red, yellow and brown controlled by the cytochromes, and the green will be controlled by the phytochromes, and that is present in the chlorophyll, right? So these three are controlled by cytochromes and this is controlled by the phytochromes.